On this network of highways in Germany, you can drive as fast as you want. Because the speed limit is literally however fast your car can go. Now, this obviously sounds strange because driving really fast on a busy highway sounds like a recipe for disaster and accidents, which is why most countries around the world have speed limits in place. But not Germany. Across the majority of this network of highways, speed limits do not exist. These highways are officially known as the Autobahn, a federal highway system in Germany, which is 13,000 kilometers long and covers most of the country. And so, first question, how fast do cars actually go on the Autobahn? Well, the average travel speed of cars on unrestricted parts of the Autobahn is 141 kilometers per hour, which by itself is faster than the speed limits in every country in Europe. And sometimes, cars can actually go as fast as 400 kilometers per hour. So, super obvious question. Why does Germany have no speed limits on these highways? There are two main reasons for this. The first is economic and the second is cultural. Let's start with the economic reason. Germany's automobile industry is one of the most prestigious in the world. An economic argument here is that the lack of speed limits allows Germany's automobile industry to showcase the high-performance vehicles and cars that they produce. Now, putting this in perspective, automobiles accounted for 24% of Germany's total industry revenue in 2022, and globally, in 2021, 23% of all cars were produced in Germany. Now, with that level of productivity and prominence, cars and automobiles are incredibly vital to Germany's economy. And so the government is essentially accommodating this industry by enabling domestic consumers to buy German cars, but not just buy them, but also showcase and test them on the Autobahn. And then of course, there's the cultural reason. The best way to put this is to quote the New York Times. As far as quasi-religious national obsessions go for large portions of a country's population, the German aversion to speed limits on the Autobahn is up there with gun control in America and whaling in Japan. Now, the translation for this is twofold. First, the Autobahn has become a symbol of sorts in Germany. But more importantly, the right to drive without speed limits has become a symbolic type of freedom in and of itself and has also become incredibly important to Germans. But that's not to say that Germany is simply playing poker with the lives of its citizens, simply based on economics and culture. There are actually a few things that make it feasible to have highways without speed limits in Germany. The first is driver education. German drivers undergo intense training and testing before they can obtain licenses, which generally translates to Germany producing really good drivers, which also translates to safer driving. The second is road quality. German autobahns are simply built to higher standards. The surfaces are thicker, they're flatter, and they're also more stable, which means they can handle higher speeds, which also means that there is supposedly a lower chance of accidents. And finally, while the cultural acceptance is that the autobahns have no speed limits, there are actually parts of it, about 30% of the entire highway network, that operate with permanent or variable speed limits in place, depending on the time of the day, the weather, and traffic conditions. And so, big question, how does the general lack of speed limits impact safety on the Autobahn? The truth is, even though driving really fast without speed limits sounds like a recipe for disaster, German Autobahns actually have a relatively good safety record. There are two stats to illustrate this. Less than 10% of fatal road collisions in Germany happen on the Autobahns, and the fatality rate on Autobahns in Germany is lower than on American highways, which, as everybody knows, have a lot more restrictions on speed limits. But that's not to say that fast driving on the Autobahn itself is not actually dangerous, because it is. The truth is, sections of the Autobahn without speed limits actually have 75% more deaths and serious injuries than those with speed limits, which is why the Autobahn, while historically symbolic, has also become something of a polarizing subject today in Germany, with more and more Germans asking for speed limits to be put in place, first to ensure general safety, but then also to reduce carbon emissions. But could this actually happen? Could Germany be imposing speed limits on these highways anytime soon? For now, the answer is no, because the government's current official position is that blanket speed limits will not be coming to the Autobahn anytime soon. That's it for today. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, do give the video a thumbs up, and hey, don't forget to subscribe. Those two things really help the channel grow. Also drop a comment if you've ever driven on the Autobahn and let me know how that felt. See you in the next one.